Middleweight wildcard set to meet in Abu Dhabi coming up this weekend. It's a pop and popcorn special. You have the Reaper, Sedriques Dumas, looking to bring that first UFC win into the octagon to challenge against Captain Morocco, noted restaurateur Abu Azaitar. Matt, for Abu Azaitar, he's 37. He's closer to 38. He's been away for 2.5 years. He did score that big-time win over Vitor Miranda, a guy who had a pretty cool nickname, in his UFC debut. Did Azaitar. He then took a long time off the stretch due to a 2021 USADA suspension. 2020 to 2021 suspension there. He was able to overcome it. He took on one Makhachev out of our native Canada. And in that fight, Azaitar looking pretty good in the first round. It was close. Looking pretty good in the second round. But in the third round, he had nothing left, and he looked absolutely awful. He ends up losing that matchup, Matt. So for Abu Azaitar, coming in here, what do you know about Azaitar? What do we all know about him? Well, he is a Muay Thai artist to the nth degree. If you look at it and you just try and quantify it, he was a Muay Thai champ in his native Germany. He was a K1 champ in Belgium, France, and Germany. And you can go back and watch some of those Azaitar K1 fights. I know I did for this one. They were very sloppy, and he threw the kitchen sink at his opponents. And you watch...
He lands, though, my God.
Again, I watched these Muay Thai fights of Shara Magomedov getting ready for this card, and it's like, okay, he does some rolling thunders and some spinning head kicks to where he slips. But Abu Azaitar, it's like they took margarine, put it on the canvas, and then said, hey, guys, go at it. Because it was a lot of slipping, it was a lot of spinning stuff that didn't land. So, Matt, again, the fight tape on these two guys is interesting, because Sedriques Dumas, he utilized that length, that reach against a lot of his opponents. But by the jeepers, does he leave himself out there to get countered? And that's what I worry about if you like Dumas in this fight. If you like either one of these guys in this fight, you know how good their striking is, but their grappling defense not that good.
And that's the thing about both of them.
And you saw it out of Dumas' last time out. He took on Cody Brundage, who took the fight on short notice, who had success in the first round. But as it wore on, Brundage was gassed, and Dumas was able to defend some of the takedowns, work in his own striking. For Abu Azaitar, I went back and I watched some of the World Series fights, because he's competed with KSW, World Series, the UFC, some of the bigger promotions that are out there. But again, for Azaitar, I watched the fight against Danny Davis Jr.
Sounds like a country singer from the 50s.
Azaitar won that fight. I thought Danny Davis Jr. won that fight pretty handily. So, again, Azaitar struggled in the grappling to a guy like Davis in the matchup. Azaitar, pre-UFC, had fights against Martin Zavada, you know him, and a 34-second knockout against Jack Marshman that really happened. So, again, Azaitar, it's a lot of big bursts to move forward in his strikes. He's pretty darn accurate when he's moving down the center. Dumas, a lot of power on the outside. And you can see in Dumas' camp for this one, training with a lot of wrestlers to try and counter some of the offensive that we're going to see out of some opponents, like he saw in his debut when he was about a 2-1 favorite against Josh Frem. So I know you're amped up about this fight, but it feels like a weird trap card.
It is a weird fight, because you bring up the Miranda fight, and that was a nice win for Abu, but he still did get taken down a few times in that matchup, and that's what concerns you, because that is such an Achilles heel during his style, because not only can he be so aggressive that it gets him taken down, it's just his pure takedown defense is not phenomenal, and you bring it up too, he can slip, which when you have bad takedown defense and poor grappling, like, what are we doing here? To quote one of the great MMA minds of all time, which is, for Abu Azaitar, I worry that the third round against Marc-André is a round that not only other fighters can capitalize on, it kind of tells you what you can do to that fighter. Because if you just watch that third round, you think Powerbar is one of the great fighters of our time. You really do. He made Azaitar not give up, but he definitely took him into the deep waters,
It's like Anderson Silva, Israel Adesanya. Who's the third greatest middleweight of all time?
It might be Powerbar. But that's the problem about Abu. I worry about him in the second and third round if he's not able to land some of those bigger blitzes early. Because Dumas does have more of a style to where he can sit on the outside and use some of those ranges at his disposal. I like his jab a lot in this fight too, because if he is able to use the jab to halt some of that forward movement from Abu, it's going to make it a lot easier to deal with those blitzes. And I think it's going to make the blitzes less frequent as this fight continues. So it's a volatile fight for both fighters, because I think either guy could win via first round knockout, to be completely honest with you. Abu leaves enough holes in his game for Dumas to land a big counter shot, and on the flip side, he also has enough power that if he lands one of those shots, it could finish it. But that's what makes it so difficult to pick, just because either guy could land that one huge shot during an exchange that completely changed the complexion of the fight.
It's going to be a weird look when these two guys square off, 5'9" to 6'2". You see the reaches from both guys. You know Azaitar has those long arms. That's what helps him when he kind of tucks his chin and just moves forward with a lot of those big shots. He lands quite well, and obviously for Azaitar, he's probably going to get a big pop out of the crowd. You remember back in September, that horrific earthquake earthquake that took place in Morocco, and not soon after, Nasrat Haqparast getting a big-time win and throwing a lot of support out that way. So a good opportunity for Azaitar to get back in here. They're not giving him a layup in an opponent, but for Sedriques Dumas, he was originally supposed to fight Abu Azaitar in his UFC debut back in March. Azaitar out. In steps Josh Fremd, and the rest is history. So a big opportunity for Abu Azaitar in this one. He is the underdog to the favorite that is Sedriques Dumas. I have no idea what the fans are going to think in this one. So I'm going to think that they're wilding out a little bit this week. I'm going to say over under 75% Dumas.
I think they'll be under.
I think they're going to be they're over. 1,231 total votes, 80% Dumas, 59% by decision, 30% by knockout. For the 20% that have Azaitar, 52% by decision, 31% by knockout. I think we had a finish in this fight, but the more I did tape study, the more it clouded my mind as to who I was going to pick.
It's a tough one to predict. I have Dumas, but I'm not 100% convinced, to be honest, and I think a lot of it does come down to the time off for Abu Azaitar. It's just been a while since he's been in there, because that's the thing, you think about it, that power bar fight was not that long ago, it was over 2 years ago.
It was 2.5 years ago.
Exactly, so I do worry about him accepting some of those early shots from Dumas, just because it's been a while for him to eat them. So I've got Dumas. I think the straight shots down the middle, I wouldn't be surprised at all if this ended inside the decision, though, and I think if it was a fight where Abu had fought, 4 months ago and looked pretty good, maybe I would pick him in the matchup, because it is that close.
I'm going to pick Abu Azaitar. The reason why, I like his body work that he does in his fights. He does a lot of body work, and he will throw out those leg kicks out there, and I think those are going to be shots that are going to keep Dumas guessing, and that's where Azaitar can pick off. So, Matt, we look at this one. We're tied on the year as far as the picks are concerned. I'm going with the returning old gritty underdog in Abu Azaitar. You're going with the young buck who got the win on Contender Series last summer in Sedriques Dumas. Let us know who you have down below in this matchup. It could be a question mark kicks special here for Saturday, so make sure you tune into the show for that. You are going to want to keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say. Let's get into it.